G'day, I've been NotJah Witness here, ready to take a look at a recent article in the news concerning the Jehovah's Witnesses. Thankfully, this story is not as dark as the previous one, but it still is incredibly disturbing and truly heartbreaking. The article is titled, Pregnant Jehovah's Witness Loses Fight to Reject Life-Saving Help for Her Baby. Written by Rowan Smith, published by news.com.au on the 10th of September. The link will be down below. A pregnant teenager who rejected potential life-saving help for her baby on religious grounds told doctors, if the baby has to die, she has to die. The 17-year-old from Victoria, who cannot be named, is 39 weeks pregnant with a baby girl. She had been refusing to cooperate with doctors at Victoria's Mercy Hospital who required her permission for a blood transfusion in the event she suffers a postpartum hemorrhage during labour. I think every witness will know what this means already. A pregnant teenager so young she can't even be legally named. Do we think she's married? What this article will not address is the emotional torture this teen will be put through just for being pregnant, let alone for being forced to take blood. For those unfamiliar, the witnesses are extremely, ridiculously strict when it comes to being around people of the opposite gender, let alone having sexual relations of any kind before marriage, let alone it leading to pregnancy. She must be living in hell right now. The teen, who weighed 44 kilograms at 12 weeks pregnant, is considered by doctors to be at increased risk of hemorrhaging because she is of small stature and the baby is large. However, she said she could not receive a blood transfusion because it would go against her religious beliefs as a Jehovah's Witness. And so this poor girl was willing to risk her life and her unborn baby's life just to prove her devotion to God through the men controlling her. They will keep record of this for as long as she is involved with them, and they will use it against her to force devotion. They might even force her to marry the father of the child. It really would not surprise me. Back to the article. Dr. Jacqueline Van Dam gave evidence to the Victorian Supreme Court last month that the teen is very quiet and polite and appears to rely on her mother to answer questions. This is a big warning sign. She may not be baptized, or simply because the teen and her family are under such pressure from the congregation, she falls back onto her mother's spiritual wisdom, in quotes. The poor girl doesn't understand the consequences of her decisions, those decisions which are being forced on her and her family. Dr. Van Dam said she informed the teen of the risks of blood loss during labor. The teen responded, I do not want blood. She said the teen seems to be of average intellect but is immature and believes naively that all will be well and that if anything happens she will be protected by her faith. Associate Professor Campbell Paul, who is a child psychiatrist at the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, told the court he discussed the matters with the teen at length. She told him, the Bible says it's wrong to eat or drink blood if you lose blood and have to let it go and pour it out on the floor. Later she also told him if the baby has to die, she has to die. Clearly, there is a lot to this conversation which is not here for us to see. One can only imagine the earnest questions asked and the heart-wrenching answers the young girl would have regurgitated from the Watchtower literature. They train you for these exact moments. They drill into your brain that these moments are tests to your faith and that you must follow the Watchtower's direction for the salvation of your everlasting life. This pregnant teenage girl is willing to let her unborn baby die for the devotion to a God sculpted by the men directing the Watchtower organization. Tell me here and now what true loving mother would ever consider this. Do not take this as me giving this poor girl shit. Not at all. I'm pointing out the clear harm the Watchtower is doing to her as shown now in the Australian Court of Law. But Justice Cameron Macaulay ruled against the teen. According to a summary of the judgment, seen by news.com.au, Justice Macaulay said the teen's level of maturity and understanding were contributing factors in his decision. I should consider whether she has sufficient understanding and intelligence to enable her to understand fully what is proposed and the consequences of her decision, he said. I should form a view about the extent to which her choice is a true reflection of who she really is and what her beliefs really are, as opposed to the product of other forces. I am not convinced that overriding her expressed choice would so rob her of her essential self as to outweigh the loss she would suffer through losing her life or sustaining a catastrophic injury. In summary, I do not consider that allowing her, in effect, to choose to die or only survive with serious injury is in her best interests, taking into account a holistic view of her welfare, that is physical, spiritual, and otherwise. Thank you for your reasoned judgment. I do not want to arbitrarily take religious rights away from anyone, but if your religious right or freedom in of itself harms another, I will stand against it and you over it. Justice Macaulay ruled that the hospital was authorized to administer blood or blood products as considered reasonably necessary by 2 registered medical practitioners to save her life or to prevent serious injury during the course of induction of labor, caesarean section, and related procedures, and the postnatal period in regard to her current pregnancy. The hospital was forced to promise doctors would first use strategies other than the transfusion of blood to avert the teen's death or serious injury. This I can appreciate, as it is left in the hospital's discretion, the experts in the field. I don't have any moral objection to medical treatments that are not the standard if they are well established to work, and the doctors of the hospital give nothing but the best treatment possible either way. It renders it dissimilar to being without the religious interference. The girl's mother, who moved to Australia with a family as a refugee in 2009, told the court that receiving a blood transfusion would have a significant impact on her daughter's well-being. Being forced to have that done against her will would be something like having violence done to her or being raped, she said in a statement read to the court. She wants to do the right thing by Jehovah, by God. This is the part that made me feel ill. Being forced to have your life saved by medical professionals is the same as being violently assaulted or raped. And this is said with a pride of knowing the one true God, Jehovah, and doing right by his words. This is fucking disgusting. What is this joke? We just allow this in our courts? I don't even know how to respond to such fucking insanity. So I just mentioned this story to my father and asked if he had heard about it. He said no, but that they went through the same thing with me. The fears and the religious pressure. When my parents were given the option, my mother said no blood. My father put his foot down and demanded blood if it came to life and death through my surgeries. From other conversations with my mother, she described her personal resentment towards the doctor for not giving her the option, but falling back on his experience instead with her previously. She affirms that had she known the severity, she would not have hesitated to give me blood. I don't doubt her conviction. But I don't know what would have happened to my life if I had been allowed blood from the start, if they posed this question to my parents before I was born. But I know it would have been better than this. Thanks to simple reason, we are one step closer to preventing needless deaths. So make sure to leave any of your thoughts in the comments section below. If you agree, disagree, or wish to correct me, feel free. Plus, if you have any other topics you want me to cover or dig deeper into, leave your suggestions down there too. I am on the Facebook and the Twitter machine at NotJah Witness if you wanted to get in touch with me there. And if you would like to see more on the JWs and other religious beliefs, as I do what I can to expose and refute them where I can, hit that like button and please subscribe. It is a huge help and is always appreciated. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Thanks for watching, and remember, I'm the imaginary underworld apostate, NotJah Witness.